Hey everybody, this is Josh with BlockRoots. Welcome to the channel. Always glad to see you guys here with Cantor and Clark and myself. We do produce content each and every week for you guys to watch, crypto market analysis specifically with Bitcoin and altcoins. And so if you're interested in that information, if you're interested in good content that isn't really necessarily sensational that you might see elsewhere, we're always happy to have you, okay? And so if you have not yet subscribed, please do so below. It's super easy. Click the red button. You'll get notifications when we put out new videos. I'll also post those on Twitter as well. But with that said, if you do subscribe and you leave a comment, we also like to give $100 in Bitcoin each and every week to one person who engages with our videos. And we'll do that again today. With one person, we'll win $100 in Bitcoin. I'll announce the winner randomly. We'll pick that online here for you guys to see who that is. So we'll go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and talk about the pullback with Bitcoin. Let's talk about, Ethereum. We'll look at a few different charts here, but we've had around a 10% pullback roughly, right? And so if I were to take the high to the local bottom, right, 10% pullback, which honestly isn't that bad. We've actually had multiple 10% pullbacks during this uptrend. And when I say uptrend, if I were to, zoom out here from around the 6,000 level, right, we saw multiple 10% pullbacks. If I were to take the high, go to the low, 10.5%, right? So we've seen this numerous times. So should you currently be worried right now? Not necessarily. I mean, the thing about this is that market structure broke on the lower time frames, right? So again, some of the areas that we're looking at to hold was around this 9,800 area, right? Where this high volume node is. Again, high volume nodes, volume profile. This volume on the side is called volume profile. If you've never seen that, you can actually type in, you can actually put VPVR. That is your volume profile visible range, and that'll show up on the side. And so really what this does is it shows you price areas where the most volume has been traded, supply and demand. And again, price tends to be attracted to those areas. So you'll notice a lot of times price bounce and off that as support and then reject off that as resistance as well. Again, VPVR, I do talk about that quite a bit. I like to use it a lot. It is very useful. We did see price break below that area. And so where price bounced at was typically what you'd call probably like the local or the, not the local, but the recent high on the daily chart around 9,500. If we go ahead and scroll down here, right, price kind of wicked down through it. It also wicked down through below the previous high. That's what price has done before. So notice too, like this wick right here was the previous high. During the last pullback, price hit right below it, right, and moved up. Right. Well, at least it came down as far as the body of the candles. It went all the way down to there, not the wick, but it went down to the bodies and moved back up. So we've been seeing that numerous times on this uptrend. I mean, a lot of people drew this trend line here, right? Right. This trend broke. And so again, trend lines are meant to be broken. I will always say that. It's hard to actually trade on patterns because, again, the macro or patterns on the macro chart of Bitcoin aren't really trustworthy. A lot of times, how often have we seen head and shoulder patterns not work out, inverse head and shoulder patterns not work out, wedges not work out, and trend lines not work out? Once it's obvious to everybody, typically it's going to change, right? Once it's obvious, it's no longer an edge. What will happen is that Bitcoin tends to be a little bit more illiquid than most traditional assets, meaning that it can change, 5-10% in a day, right? How it goes up and down, how it pulls back 10% in a matter of days like this. You're not going to really see that in a lot of traditional assets. People would freak out, right? But in the Bitcoin market, it's quite normal for this volatility. So when you see any type of pattern like that, it's going to probably break, not the way that you want it to. A lot of people probably are expecting to bounce there. We did see the trend line break. And so where are we currently at? Again, it's bounced off this area, right, around 9,500. And so if we kind of zoom in here, we see that price is making its way back up towards this area of interest, right, where all these volume nodes are at. And so if you think that this is going to continue down south, which again, we're making lower highs and lower lows, okay? So at least on the lower time frames, that tends to be a downtrend. And so we could see a possible rejection off this area around 97 and 9,800, and then it continued to move down, in which my interest zone again is around 9,300. And that's because, again, this is a high volume node, as well as definitely a price cluster there, support area for there for sure. And so that's an area that I'm watching for. If price does break back below on the higher time frames, you're going to notice this pink and blue line, our purple line here, that signifies the monthly open and a weekly open where those are located. And so again, that matches up quite well in this area. So there is a lot of support. I would expect it to bounce around 9,300, okay? So not too worried right now as far as we want to play it level by level. You can also look at the moving averages. And so let's go ahead and get that out. And multiple moving averages here on the daily. Let's go with the 4-hour chart as well. This yellow 20 moving average, this 20-day moving average, you're gonna notice that price was well above it. And once price gets, well above it, typically what happens is, again, you hear reversion of the mean, meaning that what goes up must come down, what goes down must come up. It always goes back to kind of the mean. Price got well above this moving average, and naturally, again, price moved back down towards this. Now we did see it break below. It has not yet totally closed below on the daily, but it's not out of the ordinary for price to come back down and retest this moving average area, maybe possibly close below it. If that happens, again, to possible trend reversal. But again, we're not going to get too worried about that right now. Now you might even ask, where should I be worried at, right? Well, I mean, for the most part with this trend right here, notice, I mean, it would be great if we could stay above 9,100, right? That would be, for the first time, if it does go below here or close below this area, that would be a quote lower low, right? So that would be the first time since down here in the 6,000s that we'd see a lower low. Now, where should you get somewhat quote worried about, right? Well, if you look at the weekly chart, which again, higher time frames are more dominant, we want to look at those as the anchor charts. Back over in October, we saw that price held here at support at this one line around the low 8,000s, 82.33. Price held there, shot up from there, moved down. Now, it did quickly capitulate from there before the accumulation, but again, price stayed below it. It closed below it on the weekly. Basically, it held their support, and then it bounced off that area again. I would say low 8,000 is really the place where I want to see price stay certainly above that. Now, also, too, as we talk about, I do talk about the high volume nodes, right? So that's certainly going to be around 7,800. So if I were to go ahead and mark out this horizontal line right here as well, I want to see it stay above 82 preferred, and if not that, above 78 to 7,900. If I go down to the daily chart, you're going to notice too, this is kind of the area that held up as supports. Again, price stayed below it and then held again as support. So this zone right here between 79 to 8,200, I'm fine if price kind of gets down in that area, but as long as it holds there and bounces back up, even though people wouldn't prefer that, right? Because, you're looking at a potential 20 to 25% drop potentially from the local highs. But again, this is a great potential spot to buy in if we get that low. When it comes down to it, the first place we're holding right here. Then from there, if we can hold the low 9,000s, 93 to low 9,000s, and then from there, eventually 8,200. There's also some interest here around 8,600. So basically what we have to say is there's a lot of zones right here to watch, but really price is being held currently at around 9,500. It bounced off that area. I'm not worried until we get down in the low 8,000s to 7,900s. For breakdown from there, yeah, it would be potential lower lows, but not really worried about it, right? Play it level by level. A lot of people are calling for 5K. A lot of people are calling for even lower than that. I would not be too worried about that. We've got plenty of support in between. Now, if you're worried about a 20 to 25% pullback and you want to learn how to actually still profit in that time, all you have to do is really teach yourself or learn how to short. We do talk about that on BlockRoots.com. We've got a lot of free stuff here on the YouTube channel as well. And this is like Bybit. I've got like a Bitcoin on here, kind of a test net. And what you're going to do is really it comes down to, this looks really intimidating, but all you have to do is get a trading system, learn and know where you want to potentially short at. So maybe you look at this structural area where you say, okay, I think if it hits 97.62, I'll go ahead and hit 97.63. And I want to put the amount of Bitcoin that I want to short. And maybe I just want to do a 1x short as a hedge, or you can do a 2x short, right? So for every dollar it goes down, you get $2 back, right? But if the trade goes against you and you short going up, and if you close out while it goes up, for every dollar up it goes against you on a 2x, you lose $2 of your Bitcoin, right? So again, but shorting can be very profitable. Price goes down, you make money on your Bitcoin, you stack more sats. So if you want to learn more about that, just go ahead. You can use mybybit.com. That's what we use. And you can also learn on YouTube. Go ahead and go on our channel, look at the Bybit in the margin trading videos that we have here, and you can learn how to short. It's pretty simple as far as that goes. Not simple, but simple to say in terms of learn about it, teach yourself about it, and then you can short from there. And then you can learn how to be profitable in down markets. And so let's go ahead and give Bitcoin away, by the way, right? So let's go ahead and do that. This right here. So let's go ahead and pick a winner for this week. And that winner would be... And that winner is Marcus Knievy. So Marcus, again, we'll send out $100 of Bitcoin to you this week. And let's go ahead and finish up and talk about a couple of altcoins. Now, specifically, what we want to look at is Ethereum, because what Ethereum has been doing is it's actually looked strong over the past hours, I guess you could say, compared to Bitcoin. So we know that it price dropped down. Most altcoins did drop down the last couple of days, had a pullback. But as far as this is the 4-hour chart, so the last 4, 8, 12, 16 hours against Bitcoin, Ethereum has actually been performing quite well overall. So, you know, when it comes to the strength of Ethereum, it's looked really good. So when it comes to pullbacks, for sure, Ethereum is one of those altcoins specifically that you want to look at long-term buys on dips. Now, whether if we go down, like we talked about, to the low 9,000s to the low 8,000s, you're certainly going to be able to get Ethereum for cheaper than what it is now. But again, in the meantime, it could run up. So Ethereum has looked really strong. And if we go to the weekly chart as well, you're going to notice that Ethereum has outperformed Bitcoin by a huge number here. You know, if we look at from the lows to the highs, let's go ahead and get the price. Back in January up to the high, you know, you're looking at a 60% increase or more, 65% increase when it comes to Ethereum against Bitcoin pairing. So Ethereum has outperformed Bitcoin quite a bit. Another asset that I want to hold long term is Ethereum, and then also to Zcash. Now, I did post this chart today over on Twitter that Zcash or ZEC has actually performed quite well in the past couple of hours, as high as 13 to 14%. Well, it actually hit as high as 16% and has pulled back to 13%. After a 28% pullback, that was a great buying opportunity the last couple of days. I know that I ended up buying in around $57, $58. You know, it went down around $55, $54, something like that. But in the end, Zcash, I am bullish on this long term as far as a privacy coin. I do believe that it is going to be strong, as I've talked about before, a grayscale where institutional investors can actually invest and get involved when it comes to altcoins and Bitcoin. They do have an introduction to Zcash. I have shared this before. You can download the report here. It's free. All the information is free from my understanding. But again, bullish on Zcash, and it's performed well over the past day. And so whenever you see an altcoin bounce really hard like this, that performs really well, that outperforms Bitcoin, I encourage you to go through and look at different altcoin charts and see how they're performing right now. If you do see Ethereum, Zcash, and a few other altcoins, possibly Link and Tezos, right? Some of these altcoins that are bouncing hard and performing well against the BTC pairing, those are probably the better altcoins to be in overall. And so just be aware of that. Those altcoins that bounce fast and perform well after dips are the ones that we tend to want to accumulate more. And so just be on the lookout for that. These are the altcoins that you want to look for that are performing well. In the end, if we go back to the Bitcoin chart, we do know that Bitcoin has pulled back overall. You know, I'm a buyer, and I'm bullish overall unless we get below $7,900. Again, the zone between 7,900 to 8,233 is a great buy-in zone. Below that, you know, you break market structure, and then we'll have to talk about that. But between there, we've got levels at 9,300. We've got levels of interest around 8,700, low 8,000. There are multiple levels where Bitcoin can bounce. And again, this 10% drop that we've seen today has just been a common occurrence over the past couple of months when it comes to this uptrend. So not worried yet. We do know that we could see even more potential pullback. All markets need to correct at times. Reversion of the mean, we do need some of that in order to continue to go upwards. If whenever a market goes completely straight up, we see, you see like this right here, we see like right here in the short term, the previous pullback, the previous uptrend from last year where it went up over 300% in such a fast amount of time. With the current uptrend with Bitcoin, you do see the pullbacks in between. And so kind of like a stair step. And this is exactly what you want. I'd much rather have a slow stair step upward trend than have these trends that go straight up and then pull back, 50% of what it just gained, right? We don't want to have that. That's great for trading, but, for majority of you who are investors, that's not going to be as good. And we want to see this sustain again because we have halving coming up in the next couple of months. And we've seen some pullbacks with most of the halvings historically, but then after that, we know that Bitcoin continues to uptrend after that. So far, Bitcoin is still looking okay overall. And so if we do get a downtrend, don't get discouraged because we do know that we've got quite a bit of ways until we have to be worried overall with the market. So with that said, I am Josh. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so below. Hit the subscribe button and make sure that you click the comment or engage with us on a weekly basis so that you can be in the drawing for $100 of Bitcoin. If you do have any questions, just feel free to let us know. You can find us on Twitter at Josh_Rager or at Cantor and Clark over on Twitter. You can also find us over on BlockRoots.com as well. Some of the best content that you can find for $49 a month, yearly $397, annually you save 32%, which is always a great deal too. With that said, guys, have a great start to your week. Be safe and trade effectively. We'll talk to you guys soon.